Hello artists, this video is for kindergartners through 3rd grade. Here's my finished outline of my koi fish with the patterns inside. We're going to do this together. So as we mentioned, we are getting inspired by Japan and we're looking at the yuzen patterns, the silk fabrics that are hand dyed, hand painted by these artists. Now, the name yuzen comes from a actual person, and that is their last name. So the first name of this person is Maizaki Yuzen. Now, his designs were super popular when he was alive, and this time that he was alive, it was about the end of the Renaissance. So remember, we talked about the Renaissance was late 1300s to 1600s. So his artwork was around the 1600s and people loved it so much. He had a very particular kind of style to his designs, and so a lot of people actually copied his designs. They liked it so much and they called it yuzen pattern. So his patterns were very free-flowing and they had lots of flowers, lots of foliage, and also some geometric shapes that were in there. So a lot of people liked it, so they ended up using his kind of style when they created fans or anything that they could apply silk onto. And you would also use the silk to create traditional Japanese kimono outfits, and here you can see what those look like, and they're usually worn for ceremonial purposes in today's day and age. Let's get started. We're gonna look at this yuzen fabric as our inspiration up above. It has a nice floral pattern to it. So I'm just going to do a very simple flower shape with a circle in the center and then some petal shapes, kind of like teardrop shapes all around that center circle. And I'm just going to repeat that pattern throughout this water area around my large koi fish here. I'm going to put a little flower here, and it's just going to be tucked underneath that whisker of the koi fish. So I'm just being very careful where I'm putting my marker down, and you can be doing this in pencil and then put a pen, just a black ballpoint pen, on top of it. Or if you do have a black Sharpie on hand, after you do the pencil, you could be very, very careful and apply that black Sharpie on top. And I'm just slowly filling in this section with large flowers, medium-sized flowers, and small-sized flowers. Last little one, putting down right on the edge of my koi fish. You can see how that's really all coming together very nicely. And it's okay to have some white space in between your pattern. As a review, the name yuzen, we keep calling this fabric, it comes from a person's name, and that person's name is Maizaki Yuzen, and he was a famous fan designer, and he would paint on these elaborate fans and sell them, and he had a specific style to his designs, and so people started to replicate his designs because they became so popular, and they named it after him, his last name, Yuzen. I'm starting to put this kind of squiggle, vine-like line down in this next water section, and I'm looking at the pattern that's up above as my inspiration, and I'm going to do some other flower shapes in here, and feel free to do some different flowers. And you can see in this one pattern there's many different types of flowers. We have some ruffly ones, some that are kind of have like a sunflower look to them, or a daisy look, and there's even some kind of greenery that has kind of some grass look to it. So have some fun get inspired and add some of those different shapes in this section here. And remember, inspiration, that's just your starting off point. We're looking at the Yuzen patterns as inspiration. So it's a starting off point, and then as you start drawing, you're looking at it and you might think, oh, this makes me think of something else, and that inspires you to draw something different. So it's going to be all your own design, your own creation. I'm just continuing filling in the section with the flowers and some of these squiggly vine shapes that could easily be seaweed, or even we're trying to replicate water flowing around, and maybe the flowers are kind of flowing along down the riverbank. Now on to this section. So right in this little water splash area, now I'm switching over, different pattern, and I'm looking at that fabric, the Yuzen patterns, as my inspiration, and I noticed that there was lots of line work. So some were a little bit more angular, some were a little bit more flowy, especially kind of the outline of the clouds. Those have really nice curves to them, so I'm adding some more curve lines, and it's really nice because it starts to look more like water's flowing. I'm just continuing filling it in, these kind of squiggly stripe shapes, until I meet up to the koi fish. Now this section is all complete, all three of them. So we have a flower pattern, we have the flowers with the seaweed, and then we have that kind of rushing water look to it. Now we can move on to the smaller koi fish, and I'm just applying some little dot circular shapes. Try and think outside the box, something a little bit more different for this section over here. Just a few more dots and this section is all done. Now for this larger area here, I'm going to replicate the previous pattern that I did on the larger koi fish area, and I'm going to do some swirly marks. So I'm going over the outline with my marker, and I'm going to keep doing more lines over and over, working my way close to that koi fish. I'm just being really careful. I don't want to mark the koi fish, so I'm working around it, or I'm stopping right where I meet up to it. Now I'm going to carry these lines up and around the tail, and I'm going to jump over and put my line down over here. And again, bringing that over, jumping over, and finishing off on the other side of the puddle that's coming around the koi fish. Now for the next area, I'm going to be doing some hatching. So remember, hatching's at a diagonal, nice and straight. And once I have those nice straight lines filled inside of this water shape, and again, I'm going to be really careful. I'm filling in just inside that outline. And now I'm going to go cross hatching. So now the opposite direction, layering that right on top. Try and keep those lines nice and straight. And so now we're going to be getting some square shapes, because remember the Yuzen pattern has lots of different 3D kind of geometric shapes and some nice loose shapes as well. So now we have a nice combination of all different patterns layered together, and it looks so good. Nice job, you guys. Now make sure you check out the next video where we're going to color in our koi fish drawing.